Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn, on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, YouTube, and we are up on Spotify.
Woohoo! Good morning. I couldn't hear you. Say it again. Say something to me. Talk
You look
dirty to me.
beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. We're good. We
You're
got
banging.
it. Banging. So are you. Smoking. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Our favorite day of the week.
Yes, it is. I love it.
So, I am very excited that we are going to talk about dreams. We're going to talk about desire. And we're going to talk about disappointment.
Yeah, because we had a guest last week, and so we didn't really get to dive as deep into dreams. And I apologize for my voice. I am a little hoarse, and I will try not to.
I think it's sexy.
Cough. Well, thank you.
All gravelly, deep-throatish.
Until I laugh, and it's like cackle, cackle, cackle.
I love a good cackle, though.
But I did take my cough syrup this morning, so hopefully we'll get through today. At least 2 hours. So I read something the other day, or actually I wrote it down the last time we were actually talking, and it says, dreams without actions are just wishes.
I do like that.
I like it too.
And I do think that we have so many latent dreams where we have an idea for ourselves, but then the onslaught of other people's expectations, as well as what we see societally and culturally, kind of dampens our idea that we can do them. And over the time, as we grow and age, we see that the best parts of other people that they show as the final picture, instead of seeing all the work that goes into what makes them who they are today that they're showing us.
Yeah, you don't see the struggle. You don't see the sacrifices or the challenges that you've overcome to get where you are, to have what you have. One of the worst things I hate when somebody says to you, "Oh, you're so lucky."
And I will take luck over talent or skill any day.
I like to say I'm fortunate or I'm blessed, but I'm not lucky, because I feel like where I am, there's been a lot of hard work that's gone into it. Not to say that I'm perfect, but what I have, the kind of life that I have, there's a lot of work that's gone into it. There's been a lot of sacrifices.
And I do think that people see the end result as lucky.
Yeah.
But I do think, when I think of, you can be the talented person in the world with the best idea, but if you don't have timing on your side, you're not going to benefit. Like, I think of my first dream, which was becoming an air traffic controller. If they don't offer the test before I'm 28, I'm not realizing my dreams.
Right.
I wasn't lucky enough to have the window where I was young enough to participate, line up with what was going on in the industry at the time.
Right.
So that's why I say, I'll take luck. I'll take being lucky anytime. And I do actually believe that I am a lucky person.
But maybe that was not to be your purpose. Maybe it was to be a passion and not your purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it did introduce me into the world of aviation. And if I was an air traffic controller, I probably wouldn't have learned to fly. You know, because I was doing everything that I could do in that industry, not doing the thing that I thought I would do.
But even like with air traffic controllers, you're only allowed to work so many hours before you need a reset. Like, it's high intense. You know, it's a high intense situation. I actually just saw a blurb somebody posted this morning. A Blackhawk crashed into an airplane.
Yeah.
And I actually just happened to read down in the comments, and he said it's been a problem. The air traffic control has been a problem there for years. There's too much traffic, and the airport is not large enough, but yet they keep doing it. So
Yes.
it's kind of a problem that who's responsible?
Right.
When
you make people do more with less,
yes.
and you get away with it, you are tricked into thinking that
But
you can
corporate
forever.
But corporate is always like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, let's squeeze out, every penny and every ounce of work that this person is going to, we're going to extract everything we can from this person and pay the least.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember, was that a military or
I
a
don't
civilian?
know. I don't know. It just said something about I thought it was a Black Hawk. I don't know.
I didn't know. So
I didn't click the article. I just was, scanning through it.
Mm-hmm.
I clicked the comments to see if the link had been posted in it, and people were like, well, what are you talking about? And so this guy just kind of paraphrased really quickly, and then I moved on.
Yeah, and I do think that technology is worsening the doing more with less, because we are promised that technology, to me, technology is the permanent lie.
Yeah.
Because when I grew up where you learned to type on a typewriter, and it was a manual typewriter, then it was the typewriter that vibrated, that ball that would spin.
Yeah.
And then we went to the word processor. So I've gone through so many reiterations. And I remember we used to do these quick and down and dirty access databases, because we would be inputting the same information and we didn't want to type it manually.
Yeah.
So we built in these fields, and then all you had to do was type the first letter, and then it would fill in the rest of the field. We would do all of these things, making our lives more efficient.
Yeah.
And now I think, why am I ever typing in an internet form? Why am I ever typing my address? Once I type in a zip code, it can only be one state and one city.
Right.
And that used to be something back in the day, and now no website designer includes that.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about it like that.
Like, why am I getting less efficient with the advent of more and more technology? And what they do is they go, no, you're right. We got a new one.
Yeah.
Pay for this new thing. So you're doing this, chasing a carrot that is always the same length away from your head, and you're just paying for additional things. And so, and I think that's probably there. At some point, there becomes, some law that says once you make a certain amount of gains, anytime after that, you're actually getting less.
Yeah.
And I think about that in regards to life. When you try to squeeze more and more out of something, at some point, this is the perfect amount of convenience plus efficiency plus time plus cost. That once there is a point where all of that lines up to be the best.
Yeah.
And then if you push any one of those too far over, you now lose one of them again.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you how I found myself getting caught in that trap of it. Doing my TED talk. I prefer to write it, pen and ink, pen to paper. I prefer to write it. But then I'm like, wow, if I write it all out and do it all this, I'm going to have to rewrite it, retype it into the computer. So I was like, okay. I sat down at the computer. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to write it, in which creates a roadblock in me. It almost causes me to pause because I don't have the pen in my hand. Mm-hmm. And it's something about activating that muscle, that pen, that opens that gateway in my brain to be creative. Mm-hmm. Sitting in front of a keyboard doesn't do it.
But you're not the only one. They actually say that you elicit so much more
it's
in
like
the neuron world.
It's like 10,000 neurons writing versus 8 typing.
Yes.
But then, so what I thought was funny is I sat down at the keyboard and I'm looking at it because I dictate a lot on my phone, a lot of notes and stuff on my phone. This is me falling into the trap. I'm at the keyboard and I'm like, where's the speaker? Where's the speaker button so I can talk it onto the screen? And I'm like, damn it, I need a new keyboard.
Yeah. There is technology that does it with the microphone, but I don't know if you have to buy a program, because there is something about verbalizing it and then massaging it.
Yeah.
Versus, I think all of them have a benefit.
Yeah.
And there is something to staring at a blank page in general, and then there's something to staring at a blank page on a computer in front of a keyboard. It's almost terrifying.
It is terrifying, and I don't want to. I feel like it's like, ooh, I don't know. It like shuts that thing. It does not open any channel for me.
And I think it has to do, for me at least, it has to do with infinite possibilities, the crushing weight of too many choices.
Yes. Pen and paper, I don't.
I don't have that either.
And I don't have like, oh, do you want to use this word, or you spelled that wrong? And I'm like, wait, you're staunching my flow right now. So what I do is I will type it, I will dictate it into my phone, and then I email it to myself, and then I copy and paste it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
and
perfect.
then I can tweak it. Then I can tweak it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little bit old school because I'm not really tech savvy. But
Well, if I write out my shopping list, I will remember 90% of it. If I type out a shopping list, I remember 2% of it.
yes.
At the store. And I always, most of the time, I leave the list at home.
I used to do it all the time without fail. And I was telling you, my shopping list used to be in order of the grocery store, like the aisles, because, I always go left.
Yeah.
I always go left. You usually start in the dairy and end up in the vegetables. And so I would go down the aisle. So I know exactly where everything is. So I don't have to backtrack. Oh, shoot, I forgot this or I forgot that. Like, dude, probably the most efficient grocery list ever.
Do you still have it?
And
no,
I would
'cause
forget.
The grocery list changed.
It's probably somewhere on my computer,
Okay.
like on my hard drive somewhere to pull it up. But it's probably got like goldfish and baby food and
Diapers.
applesauce and wet wipes and so.
Yeah, it's a different list.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
And then you go, so I'm the type of person who I travel for work. Sometimes I'm in Salem, sometimes I'm in Hooksett, sometimes I'm in Raymond, sometimes I'm in Nashville. Like I'm always moving around, so I will go to different supermarkets depending on what town I'm in as I'm grabbing stuff. And I'm like, man, I wish they would standardize Hannaford. Or I wish they would standardize Whole Foods so that the aisles are in the order that the aisles are in. Because sometimes I'm like, and where is this? And I'm marching all over the store from side to side. And I'm like, I'm not efficient. This is so time consuming.
Well, I was in Shaw's the other day, and I don't,
Mm-hmm. You know how we feel.
Yes. No negativity. But I was all the way over at the bread, and I was like, shoot, I forgot a green pepper. And I'm like, Chris doesn't need a green pepper.
We don't need a green pepper.
I'm not
for
going
that.
back. I did go back.
But you didn't want to.
I was like, no, I'm all the way down there. I'm heading towards the checkout. And I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not going to go get it back. I'm pretty sure I'll stop before I need the green pepper. I'll stop again.
Yeah.
I'd rather stop at a different store on a different day than have to go backtrack.
Because you're just mentally like, I need to get I don't know what it is about going into certain stores and pharmacies and supermarkets. It's almost like I'm in a game show with myself where I've got to get out of there in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And only I'm playing with that game, but I'm always losing at that game. I'm always in there 10 minutes longer than I want to be in that.
Or it's, or it's a really busy one. Say you're at Walmart, Target, or Market Basket. Those usually have ones that I feel like the lines kind of can get big.
Yes.
Especially when you only have like one cashier.
Yes.
I think people have gotten a little bit better about it in the last couple of
Well, Market Basket,
months.
if you notice, has no self-checkout.
Yes, Market Basket's good about that.
You know what? They know their people will just steal. Just rob them blind. And the other supermarkets don't get that people just have the urge. And I joke around because I saw the Tom Papa special on Netflix the other day. And he said, he loves to steal like stupid stuff. And he does this whole joke about it. And I have been a very honest person in my lifetime, but nothing makes me want to do a 5-finger discount, like checking myself out. I want something for this because there's an employee standing there, not working while I'm working.
This one as my lunch.
I'm taking this one as my employee discount.
This is my employee discount, and this is my free lunch.
So now when I go into Home Depot and they say you should ring yourself out, I go, ooh, the overwhelming need to steal is too great, and then they'll ring me out.
Yeah.
But the people at the supermarket don't think that's funny, and they won't ring you out. They won't be like, oh, let me open up a line or let me go do something or let me do, because in Home Depot, they will actually physically start ringing it for you.
Yes.
While I'm getting out my purse. Because the other thing that I think, I really wish corporations would, it's no wives who do the chore in the board meetings that say this is a great idea.
Right.
Right? It's someone coming in, you should buy this technology, you're going to save this dollar amount on this line item. But are they really saving it?
Right.
I'm not 100% sure. And someone would argue, well, people don't want to work in that type of job anymore. There's a lot of people who want mindless work. Teenagers want mindless work.
Yes.
You know, some people who can't go into retirement don't want to be banging
Right.
their
I
heads
was like
against.
saying, there's some people that are retired that don't want a high stress job, but they
Yeah.
want to be out and be social.
Yes.
And so I feel like there's a lot of times at Home Depot, every time they're just standing there. Your whole day is just to stand there and watch people cash out.
Do your job. It's very weird.
Yes.
Yeah. So in Home Depot, when they say go ring this out, I'm like, ooh, the chance of me, the urge to steal is too great. I can't. I have to have someone ring me out.
I love it.
And they laugh and they come over and they do it for me. And the reason is, I hate managing my purse. I hate managing doing all of it, getting it out of the cart, ringing it in, also bagging it, putting it back. Because mentally, I'm like, I want to keep track of my purse.
Well,
I
and
want
the worst thing is
and
when
it's
you're
like
at
I'm managing too many things in my head, and I'm like, I don't even work here.
Well, and you're at the self-checkout, and you've got a lot more that sits than that when you're bagging.
Yeah.
Like Shaw's is, if you take anything off there, it sends somebody over every single time. And I'm like, I don't have any more space.
Yes.
I don't have any more space. Can I just put some of this stuff in my basket?
Yeah.
It's already bagged. I've got a 12-pack of soda, and, I've got all these bags sitting there, and there's no elsewhere for it to go.
And then we were promised robots. Let the robot ring me out.
Right.
Let the robot ring me out. Otherwise, hire people.
Anyway, we digress.
We digress.
Talk about dreams.
Yes. My dream is
Desires.
to not check I worked at the supermarket once, and my dream is to not work there anymore.
Yes.
That's my dream.
I have been fortunate that I've never had to have a job to learn how to use a cash register.
Oh, yeah. I used to love a cash register because I loved money. I loved counting money in my job.
My dad, when we were kids, he brought home, I don't even know, I don't know where he got it from.
But
It
I
was
also
an
worked
old
as a cashier when there was cash. Like where there wasn't even, when I worked at this is how old I am. When I worked at the supermarket, there wasn't even, you could do check or cash, but no swiping.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
do.
your dad
Oh,
brought
gosh,
your
I
dad
remember
brought
that.
home out.
Well, it was the old-timey one with the round buttons, and it had the thing that you would ring up the sale, and
the casino.
Yes, and then the thing would open. It had the little wires in there that you could put your money in, and so we'd have our money, but then we'd have, the change. We used to love to make the change, and we'd have Monopoly money in there, and
Yeah, that was fun.
yes.
I don't know why that was so fun. That and bowling.
But I didn't want to do it under pressure. I didn't want somebody standing there and be like, "Oh, I suck at math." Like, what is that? So I avoided the cash register jobs.
Yeah, I worked at an ice cream shop in which I also was like 14, and I used to close the place down. And then cops used to be like, what is this 14-year-old doing with all of this cash in this small little place? And so they realized, like, someone's going to rob her blind. So they used to come and be like, hey, why don't I kind of be with you during the last 15 minutes while you're doing that? So I used to give them ice cream.
Gosh, that's awesome.
And I lived in a city where they used to walk a beat, so there was always a cop walking around on the streets of that main little downtown.
Oh, nice.
And the cops that used to walk the beat used to just make sure if I was there by myself that I wasn't there by myself.
Yeah.
And I used to give them ice cream.
Gosh, that's cool.
We would do all that. I'd put it in the safe. They'd say, are you okay? And they'd go and usually walk me 2 streets over and be like, all right, the rest is you.
Yeah, I don't think they would.
My beat's not this far. Go.
Yeah. Get out of here.
And then those would be the same cops that would find us drinking wine coolers and beer at the field, and then they would take it and put it in their cop car, and that's a lesson to you. And we're
Yeah.
like, we know you're drinking it later.
I
And we're like,
know.
we are. But that's what we don't know where you got that,
It's
but you're
price
not
you
old
pay.
enough to drink it.
Right. It's the price you pay.
No one got arrested. We all just, they got free alcohol. Our night was 50% okay.
Hope you got so chug hard, lesson learned, chug hard, chug fast. Get your buzz on before the cops show up.
And that's the thing is when you work, when I worked there, then they know I'm A14. They know who I'm hanging out with. They tell me don't hang out with that group. They became very fatherly about the whole thing. Like, I don't want to see you here with this group. Don't be here with this group. Don't let me catch you here with this group. And you're like, all right. The
Scooping
older
ice cream
boys.
by day and
Yeah.
Boone's Farm by night.
memories.
Do they even make
All
Boone's
about-
Farm anymore?
I don't know. I didn't have Boone's Farm up here.
Oh, Southern thing.
That's a Southern thing. I had Bartles and James wine coolers.
We had Bartles and James. Gosh,
So
I was trying
that
to
was
think.
like the
Boone's
wine
Farm
cooler
might
of
have
my
been the
thing.
wine, like a bottle
Okay.
wine. Like, I don't even know what to say, Reuniti or Strawberry Hill or something like that. It was like,
What reuniti? I bet it's really, really close. And now I can't think of the correct word. Reuniti. Oh, wait. All right, we're not going to digress too much because I feel like we're digressing right now. And then I'm going to start singing Reunited and it feels so good.
all I can think of is that song. It's like something about Reuniti on ice.
Yes.
I don't know what that was.
Reuniti on ice. And isn't it funny, like, what a blast from the past trying to...
Oh my gosh! Yes.
And this is how past it is. Let me get my glasses. All right. We are going to talk about dreams and desires. And I do have Reuniti. We're going to joke. And all it does is bring up Reunited on ice, I'll say. Reuniti. Interesting.
It is a wine.
It is a wine.
I think because I used to have a red wine.
This is the commercial for it. Reuniti on ice. It is Reuniti.
How the hell I remember that? I have no clue.
You get the 5 stars today. Good job.
I high five myself. Okay, so let's start in with desires, where we picked up. If we can both remember where we left off.
Yes. So
Because I do think desire and dreams are kind of a little bit one and the same.
they should be one and the same. Your dreams should align with your desires, and your desires should align with your core feelings.
Yes.
So, what I think we both have this core feeling, freedom.
Yes.
I know my spouse, one of his core desires is freedom. We like independence and freedom. We don't want to be bossed around. We don't want to be told what to do. We don't want to be told how we can do things. And I think that's why, politically, for a while, I was feeling very suffocated, because you're changing all the words, you're changing all the definitions, you're changing what I can say, you're offended at everything I say, and and it's not meant that way. Like, you're telling me my intention when I know my intentions.
Well, so interesting that when I was listening to Jordan Peterson and Tony Robbins this morning, and he just briefly touched on the emotional effects of our society from COVID. 4 years of people being locked up. It's their sense of freedom has been taken away. We don't even realize it
I realized it, really.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes, but a lot of people were like, oh, this is for our own good, and blah, blah, blah. But the damage that was done, he's talking about the depression, the anxiety, shutting down
The rise in
communication,
alcohol and substance abuse.
suicide, alcohol abuse, like all of these negative things that have, because a larger power said, I'm going to shut you down. I am going to
Control you.
I'm going to restrict your freedom.
And your movements.
And
Yep.
look at all the things that have happened in the 4 years. There's colleges in New Hampshire that had suicides when they quarantined their freshmen, and they hid it. Like deep, I got an article from a lady in California who her daughter was thinking about coming, and we were just on a new freshman
Quorum
page on
Yep.
a
website.
and just putting feedback and information and good tips, and she was asking these questions and the feedback, and she's like, I'm nervous to send her there. She's never been away from home, and she's across the country.
And now she can be locked down where she has no interaction with anybody.
Yeah, and she's like, so I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah.
And she's the one who sent me the article, and it's a lot of the private colleges that were harsher on their rules and regulations.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to get triggered about that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I find COVID very triggering still to this day. When I hear or when anything reminds me of it, I'm just like, oh, I can feel the anxiety kick in, and I can feel the anger kick in. And what I think most about it is because it challenged the core freedom of not being able to, go and do what I want to do when I do it, who I want to do it with.
Right.
And then having to argue. I've had more arguments with people about, because they would tell me, their reasons for being as vehement about this process as possible. In the first couple of weeks, I was like, well, we don't even know anything, so let's just kind of see how it plays out. However, I was like, how bad is this thing that we didn't shut down our country over Ebola?
Right.
In Ebola, you died in 3 days bleeding from every orifice.
Right.
AIDS, we didn't even know how you contracted that in the 80s. No one shut anything down.
Right.
I was working at a dentist office when we didn't know how you could even get AIDS. And I remember double gloving, double masking, and wearing goggles.
Right.
And the dentist was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, we don't even know how we contract this.
Well, I worked in healthcare, and I watched people at the grocery store. They put on gloves, and they have their mask, and I'm like, she's touching everything and touching the dirty cart that she didn't wipe down. She's got her gloves on, and she's digging in her purse, going through her phone on her while she's got her gloves on, and then she's rubbing her, she's pulling at her mask. Now you've contaminated everything. Like, that's not.
And then I said to one woman, she said, wow, these masks smell really bad. I'm like, well, you're supposed to dispose of them.
Right.
Or wash them or something. You
not have 5 of them hanging off your rear view mirror. Like, it's dumb.
But again, we trigger. Okay, we're not going to digress on trigger. But
but on that note, and it is coming to be true. Look at I said, the longer that we are not exposed by having to wear masks out in public, we're not exposed to, we are ruining our own immune system because we're not exposed to the little germs that our bodies can naturally fight. And so you watch, when this thing goes over, the flu's going to come back, pneumonia's going to come back harder, and colds are going to come back harder. It's because we've suppressed our immune system for so long, we no longer aren't being exposed microdoses or however you want to call that. And so
even
now,
they say children should be exposed to dirt.
Right.
They have to be. You have to get exposed to pets if you're exposed to pets.
It's how they
it's how
being
your body
exposed to germs helps build your immune system.
Yeah, it's like this is an invader. Get it while it's hot.
Right.
Get it when it's little. But
anyway, back to desires.
Yeah, back to desires. So one of our core desires is freedom and independence.
It should have been digression as a title.
Another one of digressions. Oh. We'd stay on topic, I think, on that one. Probably. So so freedom and independence also is why I don't work well in corporate America. Right? When you think of dreams and desires. But tell me something that you desire that. Go ahead. I see you thinking.
Well, I didn't know. I was. Is that the end of the sentence?
Yeah. Just tell me something you desire.
Travel.
Okay. And is that
adventure?
Yep. So I have that desire too. And then, other than time or money, what do you want more of?
Time.
Nope, I said other than time or money.
Oh, love.
Oh, mine would be peace.
Well, but isn't that's kind of, if you have love and are loved, are you peaceful?
Maybe, probably.
I can't imagine.
But can you be peaceful without love?
That's actually a good question, because if you don't love yourself, are you at peace?
No, you're not. Right. So very good. So there's love could be self-love in there. Okay. Next one. You need to give yourself more permission to be.
I need to give myself more permission to be me. Me.
The true, authentic. Gloves off.
Speak my mind.
Yes.
No.
And I think the radio station does do that a little bit, because for a long time, it's I wouldn't say that out loud in front of mixed company because I don't want to get into it. But this is mixed company, and you can't get into it with me.
Well, that's
you
true.
You can write horrible comments.
You can comment and you can ring that phone, but I don't have to pick it up.
So I need to give myself more permission to take better care of myself. That would be mine. Okay. What's different about you? What's different about you?
Then what?
I don't know. That's what the question just lands
What's different about me? My eyes are two different colors.
Yes, they are.
I think that my brain thinks I process differently.
Yes.
I think I see the world, and what I'm learning about me is I don't always see the world the same way other people do. I was going to say the majority, but that's unfair.
And I do think if we all understood that we look out our own window,
Yes.
and from that window we have a different vantage point, and in behind the window we're having our own experiences, and that is the beauty of other people. If you cannot demand they be a certain way, if you cannot have an expectation that they have to be like you, people can be unbelievably interesting.
Yes.
And if you could say, this 80-year-old guy, right? He comes from a different generation. He's lived different experiences during different times in a different life. Maybe he's not an ogre. Then you could learn a little bit about what his experiences were. He lived through how many wars? He served in a war. You could learn something about other people if you could understand that everyone looks out their own window. Okay, next question.
I was going to say, because I have a great thing. I have a, actually I was just working on my next TED Talk, and it was something that was related to what you were saying. And I was like, ooh, can I pull it up really quickly and see? So, we've talked about it before, is, we can only judge people and things from our own experiences.
Yes.
So that's our only view. We don't have a different view unless we open ourselves up.
And that's the beauty of empathy. If you can put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment.
But we can do, and it's way easier than we think we can. And this is one of the talks I want to do is one of the beautiful things that Chris taught me about watching a movie is I used to watch it to just decompress. We talked about this. He said, I like to watch the movie and see what the director is trying to tell me. What was his message? What was his reason why of doing this? And when you read a book, you're reading the book. Yes, we fill in the narratives of what the character looks like, but it doesn't take away from what the author is trying to tell us. If we could take that simple tool right there, and each time we have an interaction or conversation with somebody, we actually listen. We listen instead of attaching our feelings and our experiences to the story of what the person is trying to say. If we can look at each person and say, what is this person is trying to tell me their story.
Yeah, if you listen to understand.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand what they're saying.
Well, yeah, because you always hear, we listen with the intent to hear, but I don't think people realize what that actually means. What is that author? What is that artist trying to tell you? Because we're all artists. And so to me, it's like it is everything. To me, I think everything comes back to mindset. It's about how you choose to view the world. And then instead of saying, what is it? We said it last night. Most of the time we listen with the intent to respond, defend.
Yes.
What was it? Deflect?
If we listen with the following.
To defend your position, prove your point, or deflect. Those are the ears that we're listening to. And I'm like, my challenge to people is start looking at, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, what is this person telling me? They're relating it only through their experience. But yet when we hear it, we're trying to attach our experience to it. It's how we get so triggered at politics.
So
they're not willing to see somebody else's view.
The quote was from Lisa Nichols, and she said that when she's in a conversation, especially a heated one, she says to herself, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to protect. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to defend. Now, who do I choose to be? So when I think of conversations, often I will say I have nothing to defend, because I can catch myself defending a position I don't even really Like,
Right.
I'm willing to move on that based on what you're saying, but not if I'm defending myself. So and this is how somebody actually speaks with me. So, you're always doing this, and I'm trying to think of like an actual real life scenario where someone accuses me of doing something. So I defend myself. I'm being accused. You always make me feel so uncomfortable. You always do that. So I defend myself, right?
Right.
But if I go with, I'm not defending myself, how do I make you feel uncomfortable? And then sometimes it boils down to they're uncomfortable.
Yes.
Not I'm making them
Yes.
feel uncomfortable. But you won't get there.
Right.
Because then you can turn around and kind of say, well, okay, now we can have a different conversation instead of the same argument we always have.
Right.
I'll go back.
We're so quick to give somebody else's or to give our opinion instead of like letting somebody express their feelings.
And then what do you do most naturally?
What do I do? Joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think you.
I like to laugh. That is probably like my biggest. I think what I do naturally, what comes naturally to me is being silly.
Okay.
I have like a Tourette's head brain.
So what I do most naturally is
Tourette head.
internalize.
Oh.
Like I will personally take on something that's not mine. I do that really habitually.
Oh, I think we all do. All right, so what's a positive that you do naturally?
Problem solve.
Yes, you do. You're a great problem solver.
So I feel like immediately, so when people complain, that's my problem being around people who are doing nothing but complaining is I'm trying to solve their problem instead of understanding that this is just a bitch session for them.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening to me is it creates an anxiety in me from all these problems that I can't solve.
Yeah.
So now I leave your conversation anxious and upset.
Yeah.
So there are people who, when you talk to them, the whole entire conversation is the traffic's bad, my ankle hurts,
Yes.
you
Yes.
go through.
Yes.
I didn't get a good night's sleep. Everything is just and at the end of it, you feel like, ugh.
Yes.
Because I'm now internalizing we talked about how moods are contagious. I can
you're
catch someone's
feeling
good
it.
mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're talking about, even like Jordan Peterson talks about it is in like Tony Robinson, when you are neuron mirroring.
Yes.
When your energy is so high, or like even Deborah, like our coach, is telling us when you are activating and you're speaking from the heart, you're activating that heart muscle, you're activating 10,000 neurons, and we actually have the power to transfer energy. And that's exactly what we're doing. I want to, instead of laugh, or joke, whatever my other thing was. I think naturally I'm a nurturer.
I think so too.
My first thing is I want to nurture.
Right. Everything from the plants through
Yes.
food, everything across. And I
Yes.
think you immediately want to make everything beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
You're like there.
But you're like that too.
I have that tendency.
Tweet.
I don't like. I have difficulty with ugly,
Yes.
and that's not to say I know I have ugly in me, right?
Yes, we all do.
We all have the parts of us that we want to hide because we think they're ugly. But there's something about, my first space was ugly, but I wanted to put my artwork up on the wall. I wanted to put my pretty bedspread on so I could focus on not the ugly carpet that had been there
Yes.
since the 50s.
Yes.
And I've been living in there in the 90s. Everywhere there was a seam to go to another room, there was just tack strips. So I would buy these little mats and put it
little
over
rugs to throw rugs, because you're trying to make a home. You're trying to create an environment that you can thrive.
Yes.
And we all do it.
Yes, so I would
Well,
specifically
I wouldn't say we all do it.
put the pretty thing so that I could ignore the ugly thing by laser focusing the pretty thing.
Yes. Yes.
Because I'm really sensitive to
Well, if
environments.
you put enough beauty in it, then you don't see the ugly anymore.
Yes.
And it is kind of true about our body. You know, we
Yes.
all have ugly, but the more beauty that we try to open ourselves up and try to receive, humans are not good receivers
Or I think we receive the wrong thing.
of positive. But, you know, we did this thing a while back that there's more negative words in the English dictionary than there are positive words. Our 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 existence, our universe is made up of way more negative things than there are positive things.
And our brain fixates on negative more than it does on positive. That's how we survive.
Well, like what Johnny was saying, you know, we operate, there's pain and pleasure. And if you take about it from like a primitive, you know,
Animalistic
self, it's truly, even animals are pleasure and pain. You're either trying to find food or you're trying to find safety. You're trying to find a mate, you know, however you're looking at it, but you always have to be alert. And so it's like we're trained.
Yeah, in that vigilance.
Is to be, you know, to be on alert for pain, danger. And I think that's why the negative is, because we paint everything as a negative, being scolded, being punished, you know, reprimanded,
criticized, yeah.
or getting it wrong, and all of these things. It's like, oh, that's pain, that's pain, that's pain. And so we all focus on those things and stop focusing on, like, actually, what brings us pleasure? What are our dreams? What are our desires? What is internally a good thing inside of us that we could feed and nurture, so that starts taking over and clouding out. Like I said, like in our crappy apartments, you know, when you're, you know, I was 17. In your crappy apartment, you start adding more beauty and beauty and beauty to it, and you're erasing the ugly. And we just don't do it. We don't do it enough.
And then you add that my business was taking buildings that no one wanted and flipping them or fixing them up and renting them. And so then I never not, when you practice it so repeatedly, you never not see it. So we had a conversation with Jim Lawrence last week, and he was asking us our opinion about treads on the stairs.
I'm waiting for that credit card to decorate that office over there.
And so it was like, of course, yes, this dark color is great, but the person in me who has been experienced that, but when we have winter and salt, that's going to look like crap in 2 seconds unless you're cleaning this hallway every day. And he's like, oh, I didn't think that. And what I tell people all the time is, yes, I am a realtor by trade, but I'm also a manager, a property manager, where I've been tasked with maintaining buildings to be as beautiful and clean and efficient as possible in a budget. So I can never take off that hat. I'm never the person, even in a flip, when we would
you've wired your brain to see things that way. And it's like, so people don't, what I've realized is some people don't have the ability to take it to the next step. Okay, if I make this decision, play it out. When my kids were little and they'd be scared about, like, I'm going to go, you know, they had to do a public speaking, or they had to, you know, do something that made them uncomfortable. And I just said, okay, well, think about it. Play out in your mind, what is the worst case scenario? And if you make them say it and call it out, because it's all of those feelings of anxious and anxiety
and
of
the unknown,
of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, just take a minute, slow down. And what is the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? And a lot of times when you get them to say it out loud, both of them are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, because you also have identified, and it's no longer unknown.
Yes.
You have that other piece of it. Oh.
So it's actually teaching your brain, and it's teaching your brain to take the next step. If I make this move, it's chess. If I make this move, what are my options here? Mm-hmm. And it's just like the stair treads. Mm-hmm. It's about public speaking. It's about any decision that you make. Play it out.
Mm-hmm. And I think, all right, I won't go digress because I want to get through.
All right, let's go. I love questions.
What do you do even though you don't want to?
Laundry. Pay the bills. What do I do that I don't want to do?
How are you complicit in?
Tell me yours first.
So I think internalize. I don't want to take on everyone's problems. I don't want to take on everyone's moods. So
Yes, that's true. I absorb,
yes,
and I can't help it sometimes.
yes, and I wish that I didn't do it, even though I do it so naturally. So maybe even if you want to say habitually.
I wish I had better control over it, because
Yes.
I like to be. I think you don't absorb if you're not open.
Yes, but you and I are unbelievably open.
Yes.
And that's a superpower. But how do you protect your superpower?
Learning the tools to say, that's not mine. That's not mine.
Yeah.
Don't pick it up.
Yeah, because what is the most sensitive thing about you is also the greatest thing about you.
Yes.
And I think that's what we really don't understand about sensitivities. That's where our superpowers lie.
Well, somebody explained it to me the other day, years ago, when my husband and I were in counseling, and we had to write down what we love about the other person and what we don't like about the other person. And I said, I love his strength. I love his determination and his drive. And that's probably one of his biggest assets. And she said, but yes, you love it when he's using it out in the world, out here. You don't like when his biggest strength comes against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the way because what you admire in somebody or what you see in somebody can also be crippling. So us being open, being able to be open, can be our kryptonite.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
And I don't think we see it. I don't think we don't.
Well, we don't want to eradicate what it is entirely. We want to protect it and manage it.
Yes. Well, I think the more that I'm learning and the more that I'm opening myself up, I don't think we take the time. We don't really actually take the time to learn who we are. We get so caught up and busy in our life.
Well,
to
I think we
actually,
think who we really are has to be hidden.
why?
Because I think society gives us these cultural norms. I was talking to a poor
Right. So
bartender
conform
the other day, and he was saying how he's part of this huge patriarchy. And I'm like, behind the bar? You're being a patriarch behind the bar? Working for tips? Being sweet to us? Like, honey, you're not part of the patriarchy. I'm telling you right now. and London and England and the UK has a matriarchy.
Right.
Okay, like, the Queen ran everything. There were still problems over there.
Right.
Don't worry, honey. Don't take that on. You've got problems. That's not one of your problems.
That's true.
And he was like, I don't understand. But anyways, so we have 2 more questions. We'll try to do them real quick. What lights you up, brings you alive, enlivens you, and reminds you of who you really are?
All right. Break it down. Connection. Say it again.
Okay. What lights you up, what brings you alive, enlivens you, and reminds you of who you are?
Connection. My relationships. I'd have to say my relationships.
And mine is connection too. Sometimes I think that's why this radio show is so great, when we're connecting with somebody and it's an opportunity. Like, out in the world, I connect with people all the time, but we have our phones and we're checking email and we're doing all these things, but you're sitting across from me, looking me in the eyes and looking you in the eyes, and we're having a conversation, and the whole world has disappeared until a siren comes
And
in.
a lot of times I forget that we're on the radio and I feel like we're on the phone. I mean,
Yes.
we're sitting here having a conversation. So
that connection is ultimately why I want everyone to be charming, so you can connect more.
yes,
Okay.
being open and curiosity.
What depresses your spirit and weighs you down, down, down?
Bad energy.
More specifically?
Bad attitudes. Bad attitudes. Just people that don't want to see beauty. They want to focus on the problems, on the stress. So it's energy. I mean, because literally I could walk into a store and see somebody, they're scowling, or you can just see somebody walking down the road, and I'm like, no, I'm not smiling at that person. Like, I avoid in people that are draining, people that want to suck the life out of you. They by complaining, by how they show up. They only want to talk about problems. They don't refuse to see that it's a challenge or an obstacle, or this problem is actually giving you an opportunity to grow.
Yeah. So
what about you?
Complaining, definitely. It depresses me. And when I do it to myself, I find, so I didn't sleep well. And I woke up and goodness, I was not like my cherub-like self. And there's only me in the house as I'm making stuff, but I've launched 27 complaints as I'm waiting for tea. And I was like, whoa, you are tired. Shut up. Quiet down. You're exhausted. You don't have the energy for that.
Tea.
Make your tea. Find your cat.
Get some breakfast.
And don't put anything on the schedule today. Whatever you have today, barely get through it and go to bed real early tonight. Don't make dinner. Don't plan. I was just like, the second my husband walked in the door, I'm like, we're going out to get dinner. He's like, man, because he had just I
walked in the door.
Yeah, and I'm like, we're leaving again. Like, I can't. I didn't sleep well. We need to eat right now. So my own negativity can really.
Yeah. So I know it's like.
And then other people's, especially if I can't separate from it, especially if I really care about this person and I love this person and I'm, then I can't seem to separate myself from it at all.
And also I think fear. So that's why I just said negative energy, because there's a lot of it that ends up fear.
But fear motivates me. When I'm afraid of something, I can do the opposite real quickly.
I think it's more a fear of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Or a feeling of helplessness. As something that's beyond your control.
Yep.
And the more we try to control it, I think the more that we stress about it.
Yeah. So these are kind of rapid fire questions because we're trying to get into desires and dreams without saying what is your desire, what is your dream? Because you might be reevaluating what that is. At different times in your life, in different seasons, and you might have, for some reason, you're losing a job, or your kids just left for college, or you just went through a separation, or somebody passed away, and it causes you to reevaluate your life. January, December, reevaluating, like, what do I want things to look like? This book, I'm actually reading the questions from the book called The Desire Map by Daniel Laporte. It's like $17 on Amazon. I'll actually post a picture of it on our social media page so you can see it there. But there's some rapid fire questions. And what I think this is really quite funny is I love the movie, anything Monty Python, but I love the Holy Grail. And they come across this troll that's covering this bridge.
I think we're going to break.
Are we going to break? Hold on. So that timer's wrong then. If we're going to break.
That says 11:01. It's off again, but this is 10:59.
Okay. Stay tuned. We'll be back at the top of the hour. This is Lisa and Robyn on the mic, WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. We'll see you in a minute.